Hey, warrior, listen to me. Right now, in this very moment, you're not broken. You're not damaged beyond repair. You're not lost in some permanent darkness that has no exit. What you are is disconnected from the one thing that makes life worth living: purpose. And without purpose, everything feels heavy. Everything feels meaningless. You wake up and the weight is already there, pressing down on your chest before your feet even hit the floor. You scroll through your phone looking for something, anything, to make you feel alive. You distract yourself with noise, with content, with other people's lives because your own feels like it's slipping through your fingers like sand. And at the end of the day, you lay your head down, wondering why you feel so empty when you've been busy all day long. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who ruled Rome yet understood suffering more deeply than most, once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Read that again. The pain is not the thing itself. It's your relationship to it, your interpretation, your surrender of control to external chaos. And that's what's happening to you right now. You've given away your power. You've handed the reins of your life to circumstances, to other people's opinions, to comfort, to fear, to the endless stream of digital distractions that promise fulfillment, but deliver only more emptiness. Let me tell you something true. Something that might sting but needs to be said. Modern life is designed to keep you weak. It's designed to keep you distracted, comfortable, and dependent. You wake up and immediately grab your phone. Dopamine hit. You scroll for 30 minutes before you even remember who you are. You eat whatever's easy. You avoid discomfort like it's poison. You fill every moment of silence with noise because silence forces you to face yourself. And facing yourself means confronting the gap between who you are and who you know you should be. You've been conditioned to believe that happiness comes from external validation, from accumulation, from comfort, from avoiding pain at all costs. And so you chase these things endlessly, wondering why you never feel satisfied, wondering why the void keeps growing even as you keep filling it. Here's the truth that no one wants to hear. You're not depressed because something is wrong with you chemically, though that can be real for some. Most of you, you're depressed because you've abandoned your purpose. You've stopped doing the things that make you respect yourself. You've traded discipline for convenience. You've traded growth for comfort. You've traded meaning for distraction, and your soul knows it. Your spirit knows when you're living below your potential. It knows when you're wasting the gift of time, and it punishes you with that heavy feeling, that emptiness, that restlessness that no amount of scrolling or binge-watching or surface-level pleasure can cure. So here's what we're going to do. Right now, in this moment, you're going to make a choice. You're going to decide whether you're going to keep sleepwalking through your one precious life, or whether you're going to wake up. Because time is moving, warrior. Every second that passes is gone forever. Every day you spend disconnected from purpose is a day you'll never get back. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that he might not see the sunset. Memento mori. Remember, you must die. Not to be morbid, but to be awake, to be urgent, to stop wasting your finite existence on things that don't matter. This message is not for everyone. Let me be clear about that right now. If you're looking for someone to tell you that everything will be okay if you just think positive thoughts and wait for the universe to deliver. This isn't for you. If you want someone to coddle you and tell you that you're a victim of circumstances beyond your control, keep scrolling. There are plenty of voices out there that will feed you that comfortable lie. But if there's still a fire inside you, even if it's just an ember barely glowing in the darkness, if there's still a part of you that remembers what it feels like to be alive, to be hungry, to be connected to something greater than yourself, then stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you will change everything. Not because these ideas are new, they're ancient, they're older than your great-great-grandparents, but because they're true. And truth, when you're ready to hear it, has the power to shatter the prison you've been living in. In this video, you're going to learn 7 Stoic principles that will reconnect you to your purpose. These aren't theories. These aren't philosophies to debate over coffee. These are battle-tested truths that have guided warriors, emperors, and free men through the hardest moments of human existence. These principles have survived for over 2,000 years because they work. They worked in ancient Rome. They worked in the trenches of war. They work in the boardroom, in the gym, in the quiet moments of doubt when you're deciding whether to give up or push forward. And they'll work for you, but only if you apply them. Only if you take what you learn here and turn it into action. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. And you're not here to be entertained. You're here to transform. Number 1, you must master your attention or it will master you. Look around right now at the world you're living in. Every corporation, every social media platform, every advertisement, every notification is fighting for your attention. Because attention is currency. Attention is power. And most people give it away freely, unconsciously, like they have an unlimited supply. But you don't. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your energy flows, your life grows. Seneca said it perfectly. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. You're not running out of time because time is short. You're running out of time because you're giving it to things that don't deserve it. Think about yesterday. How many hours did you spend scrolling through content that you can't even remember now? How many hours did you spend consuming other people's opinions, other people's drama, other people's lives, while your own life sat there waiting for you to show up? The average person spends over 6 hours a day on their phone. 6 hours. That's a quarter of your life. That's a full-time job. And what are you building with those hours? What are you creating? What are you becoming? Nothing. You're becoming nothing. You're becoming a passive consumer in your own life story. You're becoming the audience instead of the hero. The Stoics understood something that modern humans have forgotten. That the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your attention. Marcus Aurelius, who had an entire empire demanding his attention, who had advisors and generals and senators all pulling him in different directions, he knew that the only way to maintain sanity and purpose was to guard his mind fiercely. He wrote in his meditations, which were his private journals never meant to be published, "Confine yourself to the present, not the past, not the future, not the imaginary scenarios your anxious mind creates. The present, this moment, this breath, this choice. Here's what this looks like in practice. You wake up tomorrow morning, and the first thing you do is not grab your phone. I know that sounds impossible. I know that sounds uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is where growth lives. You wake up and you sit in silence for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. You don't check who texted you. You don't see what's trending. You don't fill your mind with everyone else's agenda before you've even remembered your own. You sit with yourself. You breathe. You reconnect to your body, to your purpose, to your power. Then you move. You exercise. You train. You do something that requires focus and effort. You prove to yourself in the first hour of the day that you're not a slave to comfort, that you're capable of doing hard things. Throughout your day, you practice attention control. When you're working, you work. No phone on the desk, no tabs open to social media, no multitasking. The Stoics called this concentrating the mind on a single point. Full presence, full engagement. When you're with someone you love, you're actually with them. Not physically there while mentally scrolling. Not listening with one ear while thinking about work. Fully there, fully present. This is how you honor the people you care about. This is how you honor yourself. And when you rest intentionally. Not as an escape from life, but as a recovery that makes you stronger. The modern world calls this productivity hacking or time management. The Stoics called it living, because here's what they understood that we've forgotten. Time is the substance of life. Time is literally what your life is made of. When you waste your attention, you waste your time. When you waste your time, you waste your life. It's not dramatic. It's just math. You get roughly 80 years if you're lucky. Subtract the years you spend sleeping, the years you spend as a child, the years you'll spend declining. You've got maybe 30 to 40 years of peak capacity, and you're spending it scrolling. You're spending it distracted. You're spending it disconnected from the very purpose that would make all of it meaningful. So here's your first affirmation. Type this below in the comments so you can see it, so you can claim it, so you can commit to it. I control my attention. I choose my focus. I am present in my life. Write it. Say it out loud. And then tomorrow morning, prove it. Show yourself that you meant it. Because talk is easy. Change requires action. Number 2, discipline is freedom. This sounds backwards to most people. Most people think discipline is restriction. They think discipline is punishment. They think discipline means giving up the things you enjoy, becoming some kind of rigid robot who can't have fun. But that's because most people don't understand what freedom actually is. They think freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever you want. They think freedom is sleeping in, eating whatever tastes good, skipping the workout because they don't feel like it, binge-watching another series because they deserve it. And then they wake up overweight, broke, anxious, depressed, and trapped in a life they hate, wondering where their freedom went. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the greatest philosophers in history, understood true freedom better than almost anyone. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Read that again. You are not free when you're a slave to your impulses. You are not free when your emotions control your actions. You are not free when comfort is your master and discomfort is your prison. You are free when you can choose the hard thing, when you can override your instant gratification impulse and do what needs to be done, when you can feel fear and act anyway, when you can feel tired and train anyway, when you can feel the pull of distraction and focus anyway. The irony is beautiful when you see it. The person who has no discipline, who does whatever feels good in the moment, they think they're free, but They're the most imprisoned person in the room. They're trapped by their cravings, their moods, their circumstances. They're at the mercy of every external trigger. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and their whole day is ruined. They don't feel like working out, so they don't, and then they wonder why their body is failing them. They feel anxious, so they scroll, they eat, they do anything to avoid the feeling, and the anxiety grows, stronger because it learns that it controls them. This is not freedom. This is slavery to the weakest parts of yourself. But the person who has discipline, who has built the capacity to do what needs to be done, regardless of how they feel, they're actually free. They're free from the tyranny of emotion. They're free from the manipulation of external circumstances. They're free from the prison of instant gratification. They can feel every feeling, acknowledge it, and still choose their response. Viktor Frankl, who survived Nazi concentration camps and went on to become a legendary psychiatrist, said it perfectly. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Discipline is learning to live in that space, to expand that space, to make choices based on your values, not your feelings. Here's what this looks like in your life. You set standards for yourself, and you meet them. Not when you feel like it. Not when it's convenient. Not when conditions are perfect, always. You say you're going to train 5 days a week. You train 5 days a week. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't have a debate at 5 in the morning about whether you feel like it. You already decided. And because you already decided, you're free from the exhausting mental battle that weak people fight every single day. They wake up and immediately start negotiating with themselves. Should I? Shouldn't I? Do I have to? Maybe just today I'll skip it. And by the time they're done with that exhausting internal debate, they're already defeated. They've already spent the willpower they needed for the actual task. You don't do that. You decided yesterday. You decided last week. You decided when you committed to your purpose. So this morning, you just execute. You get up, you put your shoes on, you go. No debate, no negotiation, just action. And this creates a momentum that carries you through the day. Because when you win the first battle of the day, when you do the hard thing first thing in the morning, everything else gets easier. You've proven to yourself that you're capable. You've proven that you're disciplined. You've proven that you keep your promises to yourself. And that creates a self-respect that no external validation could ever match. The Stoics practiced this daily. Marcus Aurelius would wake up and immediately remind himself of the difficulty of the day ahead. He didn't lie to himself and pretend it would be easy. He said, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm?" He gave himself the hard truth. Getting up is difficult. Doing your duty is difficult. Being disciplined is difficult. But that's what you were made for. Not comfort, not ease, not warmth under the blankets while your life passes you by. You were made for challenge, for growth, for becoming someone you respect. And here's the beautiful thing about discipline. It compounds. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you get stronger. Every time you do the thing you said you would do, your integrity grows. every time you override your feelings and act from your values, the gap between who you are and who you want to be shrinks. And eventually, you become the person who doesn't struggle with these choices anymore. Not because it's easy, but because you've built such a strong identity around discipline that the discipline choice becomes automatic. You become someone who trains, someone who works, someone who shows up, someone who keeps their word. And that person is free. Free from doubt, free from weakness, free from the prison of instant gratification. So write this down. Comment below, "Discipline is my freedom. I choose the hard path because it leads to the life I want." And then prove it tomorrow morning. When the alarm goes off and every fiber of your being wants to hit snooze, that's your moment. That's where freedom is won or lost. That's where you either become someone you respect or someone you resent. Choose wisely. Number 3, your emotions are not your identity. This one is going to hit hard because most people in the modern world have completely merged their identity with their emotional state. They feel sad. They say, "I am depressed." They feel nervous. They say, "I have anxiety." They feel angry. They say, "I'm an angry person." No, you are not your emotions. You are the consciousness experiencing the emotions. You are the sky, not the weather. The weather passes through. Clouds come and go. Rain falls and stops. Storms rage and clear. But the sky remains. Always there. Always vast. Always unchanged by what passes through it. The Stoics understood this distinction with crystal clarity. Epictetus taught his students, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You cannot control your initial emotional response. You can't stop the feeling from arising. Fear comes. Anger comes. Sadness comes. These are biological responses to stimuli. You're human. You're going to feel things. But here's where your power lies. You can control what you do with those feelings. You can control whether you identify with them or observe them. You can control whether you let them dictate your actions or whether you feel them fully while still choosing your response. Think about the last time you got really angry. Maybe someone disrespected you. Maybe something unfair happened. The anger came fast, didn't it? Hot in your chest, tightness in your jaw, heart racing. And what did you do? If you're like most people, you reacted from that anger. You said something you regret. You made a decision you wish you could take back. You let the emotion control you. And afterwards, when the anger passed, you looked at the damage and thought, "That's not who I am," or "I don't know what came over me." But here's the truth. That is who you are when you're not in control of yourself. That's who you become when you surrender your power to your emotions. The Stoic doesn't do this. The Stoic feels the anger just as intensely, but he observes it. He says internally, "There's anger present. I notice anger in my body. I notice the thoughts anger is creating. I notice the urge to react." He creates space between the feeling and the action. He remembers that he is not the anger. He is the one watching the anger. And from that place of observation, he can choose. He can choose to speak calmly, even while angry. He can choose to walk away, even while enraged. He can choose to act from his values even while his emotions scream at him to do otherwise. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. He would tell himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He ruled an empire. He dealt with betrayals, with incompetence, with wars, with plagues. He had every reason to be overwhelmed by emotion, but he trained himself to separate his consciousness from his emotional state, to lead from reason and virtue rather than from feeling. And because of this, he remained steady when everyone around him was losing their minds. He remained purposeful when others were reactive. He remained free when others were enslaved by their emotions. This is the practice. When anxiety comes, and it will come, you don't run from it. You don't medicate it with scrolling or eating or drinking or any other escape. You sit with it. You feel it in your body. You notice where it lives: chest, stomach, throat. You breathe into it. You say, "This is anxiety passing through me. I am not anxious. I am experiencing anxiety. And I can experience this while still doing what needs to be done." And then you do it. You make the phone call even though you're nervous. You have the difficult conversation even though you're scared. You take the action your purpose requires even though your emotions are screaming at you to stay comfortable. When sadness comes, you don't identify as a depressed person. You notice, there is sadness present. I am feeling sad. This is a temporary emotional state, not a permanent identity. You let yourself feel it without drowning in it. You honor the emotion without becoming it. And you remember what Seneca said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." You're sad right now. That's okay. That's human. But you're not condemned to be sad forever. You're not broken. You're experiencing an emotion, and emotions are temporary by nature. They come and they go. Your job is to not make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. Here's the life-changing part. When you separate your identity from your emotions, you become unshakable. People can't manipulate you with anger anymore because you're not controlled by anger. Fear can't paralyze you because you're not your fear. Sadness can't convince you that life isn't worth living because you know it's just weather passing through. You become the mountain. Storms rage against the mountain. Wind and rain and lightning strike the mountain. But the mountain doesn't move. The mountain doesn't identify as stormy. The mountain remains. And when the storm passes, and it always passes, the mountain is still there, unchanged, unbroken, purposeful. This takes practice. This isn't something you learn once and master forever. This is a daily practice. Every time an emotion comes, you practice observing instead of becoming. Every time you feel the urge to react, you practice the pause. Every time your emotional state tries to define you, you remind yourself, "I am not my feelings. I am the consciousness experiencing feelings, and I choose my response." And slowly, over time, you build an unshakable core, a center of calm that nothing external can disturb. Not because you don't feel, but because you're not enslaved by what you feel. Comment this below. Let it be your declaration. I am not my emotions. I observe them, I feel them, but they do not control me. I choose my actions based on my values, not my feelings. Write it, claim it, and then practice it. Starting right now. Notice what you're feeling in this moment. Name it. Observe it. And remember that you are so much more than what you feel. Number 4. You must become comfortable being uncomfortable. This is the law that separates those who transform from those who stay stuck forever. Because here's the brutal truth that no one wants to accept. Everything you want in life, everything worth having, exists on the other side of discomfort. The body you want requires uncomfortable workouts and uncomfortable discipline with food. The relationship you want requires uncomfortable vulnerability and uncomfortable conversations. The business you want requires uncomfortable risk and uncomfortable failure. The confidence you want requires uncomfortable social situations and uncomfortable rejection. The purpose you want requires uncomfortable honesty about who you've been and uncomfortable action toward who you need to become. There is no path to anything meaningful that doesn't go directly through discomfort. But modern life has trained you to avoid discomfort at all costs. You're cold, you turn up the heat. You're bored, you grab your phone. You're anxious, you distract yourself. You're hungry, you eat. You're tired, you sleep. You're uncomfortable. You immediately do whatever it takes to return to comfort. And this seems reasonable on the surface. This seems like you're just taking care of yourself. But what you're actually doing is training your nervous system that discomfort is dangerous. You're teaching yourself that discomfort must be avoided. You're shrinking the range of experiences you can tolerate. And as that range shrinks, your life shrinks with it. The Stoics practiced the opposite. They deliberately sought out discomfort, not because they were masochists, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood that the capacity to endure discomfort is the capacity to live fully. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, would regularly sleep on a hard floor with cheap blankets and eat simple food. He did this, he said, to prove to himself that the thing he feared losing wasn't actually necessary, to prove that he could be happy with less, to prove that his peace of mind wasn't dependent on external comfort. He said, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" Think about what that does for you psychologically. When you voluntarily experience discomfort, when you choose it, when you prove to yourself that you can handle it, fear loses its power over you. Because most of your anxiety, most of your avoidance, most of your stuckness comes from the fear of discomfort. You don't make the phone call because it would be uncomfortable. You don't go to the gym because it would be uncomfortable. You don't have the honest conversation because it would be uncomfortable. You don't pursue your purpose because the path there is uncomfortable. And so, you stay stuck. You stay safe, you stay comfortable, and you wonder why you feel dead inside. But when you train yourself to be comfortable with discomfort, when you actively seek it out, when you make it part of your daily practice, something shifts. You realize that discomfort doesn't kill you, it doesn't break you, it makes you stronger. Every cold shower you take proves that you can do hard things. Every workout you complete when you don't feel like it proves that you're capable of overriding comfort. Every difficult conversation you have proves that you can handle emotional discomfort. And as you stack these small proofs, you build unshakable confidence, not the fake confidence that comes from affirmations and positive thinking, real confidence, the kind that comes from evidence, the kind that says, "I know I can handle whatever comes because I've trained for this." Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "Only accept the good things," or "only when it's comfortable." He said, "Accept what comes, all of it, the difficulty, the challenge, the discomfort, the pain. Accept it and love it, because this is your path. This is your training ground. This is where you forge yourself into someone capable of living with purpose. Here's your practice. Every single day, do something uncomfortable. Not recklessly, not dangerously, but intentionally uncomfortable. Take a cold shower. Hold a plank until your muscles scream. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Make the phone call that scares you. Sit in silence without your phone for 30 minutes. Fast for a day. Sleep on the floor. Whatever it is, choose discomfort. And as you do it, as you feel the discomfort rising, as every part of you wants to quit and return to comfort, you say to yourself, "This is where I grow. This is where I become someone I respect. This is where I prove that I'm not controlled by comfort." And watch what happens over time. Watch how the things that used to terrify you become manageable. Watch how the discomfort that used to derail your entire day becomes just something you notice and move through. Watch how your capacity expands. Watch how your life expands with it. Because when you're no longer afraid of discomfort, you're no longer afraid of life. You can take risks. You can be vulnerable. You can pursue your purpose without the paralyzing fear of failure or rejection or difficulty. You become unstoppable, not because nothing can stop you, but because nothing can make you stop yourself. Write this below. Make it your war cry. I welcome discomfort. I seek challenge. I grow stronger every time I choose the hard path. And then tomorrow, prove it. Find the discomfort, walk toward it, and let it forge you into who you're meant to be. Number 5, you are defined by your actions, not your intentions. This is the harsh truth that destroys most people's comfortable self-image. You think you're a good person because you have good intentions. You think you're disciplined because you intend to start working out. You think you're purposeful because you intend to pursue your dreams. But intentions mean absolutely nothing. The road to mediocrity is paved with good intentions. The graveyard of potential is filled with people who intended to do great things. Your intentions are invisible. They exist only in your mind. They change nothing in the real world. Your actions, on the other hand, your actions define everything. Your actions are your truth. Your actions are your legacy. Your actions are who you actually are, not who you wish you were. Epictetus said it plainly. First, learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. In other words, don't talk about what you're going to do. Do it first, then you've earned the right to speak about it. The modern world is full of people who talk about their plans, their goals, their dreams, their intentions. They tell everyone what they're going to do. They post about it. They make announcements. They seek validation for the idea of the thing before they've done the actual work of the thing. And this feels productive. This feels like progress. But it's not. It's masturbation. It's ego stroking. It's a way to get the reward without doing the work. And here's the insidious part. When you talk about what you're going to do, when you share your intentions and get positive feedback, your brain releases dopamine. You get the reward neurochemically. You feel accomplished even though you've accomplished nothing. And this actually makes you less likely to follow through, because you've already gotten the emotional payoff. You've already felt good about yourself. The pressure is released. And so the intention dies in the talking stage, never making it to the action stage. You become someone who's always about to do something great, always on the verge, always preparing, but never actually doing. The Stoics had no patience for this. They measured a person entirely by their actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Stop talking about who you want to become. Start being that person right now through your actions. You want to be disciplined? Act with discipline today. You want to be courageous? Do something brave today. You want to be purposeful? Take action toward your purpose today. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready. Today, now. Because who you are is determined by what you do, and what you do is always happening in the present moment. Think about your own life. How many times have you said you were going to start something and didn't? How many times have you made a promise to yourself and broken it? How many times have you intended to change and stayed exactly the same? If you're honest, the number is probably staggering. And each time you did this, each time you broke your word to yourself, you eroded your self-trust. You taught yourself that your word means nothing. You trained yourself to be someone who talks but doesn't act. And now you wonder why you don't believe in yourself anymore. Now you wonder why you feel like a fraud. It's because the gap between your words and your actions has become so wide that you can't ignore it anymore. But here's the beautiful thing. Here's the redemption. You can change this right now. Not by talking about changing, not by intending to change, by changing, by taking action, by doing the thing you said you would do. When you say you're going to wake up at 5 in the morning and you actually do it, you build self-trust. When you say you're going to train 5 days a week and you actually do it, you build integrity. When you say you're going to work on your purpose and you actually do it, you become someone whose word means something. And that person who keeps their promises to themselves, that person doesn't struggle with confidence. That person doesn't wonder if they're capable. That person knows they're capable because they have a mountain of evidence proving it. This is how you rebuild yourself. Action by action, rep by rep, day by day. You stop making grand declarations about who you're going to be, and you start quietly becoming that person through your daily actions. You stop seeking validation for your intentions, and you start generating self-respect through your execution. You stop being someone who talks about working out, and you become someone who works out. Stop being someone who thinks about writing, and become someone who writes. Stop being someone who dreams about building a business, and become someone who builds a business. The shift from thinking to doing, from intending to acting, that's where your entire life changes. And people will notice, not because you told them, not because you posted about it, but because you'll be different. You'll carry yourself differently. You'll speak differently. You'll have the quiet confidence that only comes from actually doing the work. Seneca observed, "If you wished to be loved, love. If you wish to be disciplined, practice discipline. If you wish to be purposeful, act with purpose." You don't become these things by wishing. You don't become these things by intending. You become these things by doing, by acting, by proving through your behavior that this is who you are. So here's your declaration. Comment below, "I am defined by my actions. My word to myself is sacred. I do what I say I will do." And then immediately, right after you write that, take one action towards your purpose. One action. Doesn't matter how small. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. Just act. Send the email. Do the workout. Make the call. Write the first paragraph. Whatever your purpose requires, do it now. Not later. Now. Because later is where intentions go to die. Now is where actions live. And you are your actions. Nothing more, nothing less. Number 6, suffering is inevitable, but victimhood is a choice. Life will hurt you. This is guaranteed. You will experience loss. You will face rejection. You will endure pain. You will watch people you love suffer. You will fail at things that matter to you. You will be treated unfairly. You will experience betrayal. You will face circumstances that you didn't choose and don't deserve. This is not pessimism. This is reality. This is the price of being alive. As Marcus Aurelius noted, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. He wasn't being negative. He was being prepared. He was accepting that difficulty is part of the human experience. But here's where your power lies. Here's where you separate yourself from the masses. You cannot control whether you suffer, but you can absolutely control whether you adopt a victim identity. You can control whether you let that suffering define you as someone broken or forge you into someone stronger. Victimhood is not what happens to you. Victimhood is the story you tell yourself about what happened to you. Victimhood is the decision to let your pain become your identity. Victimhood is the choice to remain stuck, to blame external circumstances, to use your suffering as an excuse for why you can't move forward. The Stoics understood something profound, that you could lose everything and still maintain your freedom. Epictetus was born a slave. He was literally owned by another human being. His leg was broken by his master and never healed properly. He had every reason to be bitter, to be angry, to see himself as a victim of circumstances beyond his control. But he didn't. He chose to focus on the one thing that no one could take from him: his mind, his ability to choose his response, his inner freedom. And from that place of mental freedom, even while enslaved physically, he became one of the most influential philosophers in human history. He taught that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. He taught that external circumstances cannot touch your essential self unless you let them. Think about what this means for your life. Whatever happened to you, however unfair it was, however much it hurt, it does not have to define you. You are not your trauma. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are the consciousness that experienced those things and survived them. And now you get to choose what you do with that experience. You can let it make you bitter or better. You can let it close you down or open you up to deeper compassion. You can let it be an excuse for staying stuck or fuel for your transformation. This is always your choice. Always. But the victim mentality is seductive. It's comfortable in its own twisted way. Because when you're a victim, you're off the hook. You don't have to take responsibility. You don't have to change. You don't have to face the uncomfortable truth that you have power over your life. You can blame your parents, your circumstances, your genetics, society, the system, anything external. And that blame feels like relief. It feels like you're not responsible. But what you're actually doing is giving away your power. You're making yourself helpless. You're choosing to believe that you cannot change because of forces outside your control. And that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Stoic does the opposite. The Stoic takes radical responsibility. Not responsibility for what happened to them, but responsibility for what they do with what happened to them. Responsibility for their response. Responsibility for their choices moving forward. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Your happiness, your purpose, your peace It's not dependent on whether you were dealt a fair hand. It's dependent on how you play the hand you were dealt. And you can play any hand with dignity, with courage, with purpose. Here's the practice. When something difficult happens, when you face hardship, when life hurts you, you acknowledge the pain. You don't deny it. You don't pretend it doesn't matter. You feel it fully. But then you ask yourself a different question. Not, why did this happen to me? That question leads nowhere useful. It leads to rumination and victimhood. Instead, ask, what can I learn from this? How can I use this? What would the strongest version of me do with this situation? These questions put you back in power. These questions make you the protagonist of your story instead of the victim. When you get fired, you don't spend months bitter about how unfair it was. You ask, what can I build with this freedom? When a relationship ends, you don't spend years replaying what went wrong. You ask, what did this teach me about myself? What do I need to change? When you fail at something important, you don't internalize it as proof that you're not good enough. You ask, what didn't work? What do I need to learn? How do I come back stronger? This is the Stoic way. This is how you turn suffering into strength. And here's what happens when you consistently choose responsibility over victimhood. You become someone who cannot be stopped. Because you're no longer waiting for perfect circumstances. You're no longer waiting for someone to save you. You're no longer waiting for the pain to go away before you take action. You work with what you have. You move forward despite the obstacles. You build your purpose on whatever foundation life gave you, even if that foundation is rocky and unfair. And people are inspired by this. Not because you pretend everything is fine, but because you transform your pain into purpose. Because you refuse to let your suffering define you. Because you embody the truth that Nietzsche captured perfectly. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Comment this truth below. I am not a victim. I am a warrior who transforms suffering into strength. I take responsibility for my response to life. And then look at your own life. Where have you been playing the victim? Where have you been blaming circumstances instead of taking action? Where have you been using your pain as an excuse? See it, own it, and then choose differently. Choose power, choose responsibility, choose purpose. Because you are so much stronger than you think, and it's time to prove it. Number 7, your time is running out. This is not meant to depress you. This is meant to wake you up, because most people live like they have infinite time. They waste hours on meaningless things as if those hours will somehow come back. They put off their purpose as if there's some future moment that will be more convenient, more perfect, more ready. They delay the difficult conversations. They postpone the dreams. They wait for motivation, for inspiration, for the right circumstances. And meanwhile, time is passing. Every moment that passes is gone forever. Every day that ends is one less day you have on this earth. Every year that slips by is a year you'll never get back. The Stoics practiced memento mori. Remember, you must die. They didn't do this to be morbid. They did this to be alive, to be urgent, to be present, to stop wasting their precious, finite existence on things that don't matter. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Imagine living like that. Imagine making every decision with the awareness that this might be your last day. Would you spend it scrolling? Would you spend it arguing about petty things? would you spend it disconnected from your purpose? Of course not. You would live with intention, with presence, with love, with courage. You would say what needs to be said. You would do what needs to be done. You would be who you truly are, not who you pretend to be. But you don't live like that. Most days, you live like you're immortal, like there's always tomorrow to start, tomorrow to change, tomorrow to become who you're meant to be. And this is the most dangerous lie you tell yourself. Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Tomorrow is a promise that life never made you. All you have is now. This moment, this breath, this choice. And if you can't be purposeful in this moment, if you can't show up fully in this moment, what makes you think you'll magically be different tomorrow? Seneca wrote extensively about the value of time. He said, "It is not that we have a short space of time, but that we waste much of it. Life is long enough, and it has been given in sufficiently generous measure to allow the accomplishment of the very greatest things, if the whole of it is well invested." Read that again. Life is long enough. You have enough time, but only if you stop wasting it. Only if you invest it in what matters. Only if you treat it like the irreplaceable resource it is. You wouldn't carelessly throw away money. Why do you carelessly throw away time, which is infinitely more valuable? Here's the brutal accounting. You have roughly 4,000 weeks in an average lifetime. 4,000 weeks to be born, to grow up, to find your purpose, to build something meaningful, to love deeply, to make your mark, to become who you're capable of becoming. And if you're watching this video, you've already used up a significant portion of those weeks. You can't get them back. You can't press rewind. You can only choose what you do with the weeks you have left. And right now, in this moment, you're choosing. You're either choosing to continue wasting time on things that don't serve your purpose, or you're choosing to wake up and start living like your time matters. Because it does. It matters more than anything else. Time is literally what your life is made of. Think about yesterday. If yesterday was your last day, would you be satisfied with how you spent it? Did you move toward your purpose or away from it? Did you do something you're proud of, or did you just consume content and let the hours pass? Did you connect meaningfully with someone you love, or did you barely look up from your screen? These questions hurt because most of us, most days are wasting our lives. We're not living, we're just existing, passing time, killing time, as if time is the enemy instead of the gift, as if we have an unlimited supply instead of a rapidly depleting account with a balance we don't even know. But you can change this today, right now. You can decide that this moment is when your new relationship with time begins. You can decide that you will no longer tolerate wasting your precious life on things that don't align with your purpose. You can decide that every day you will do at least one thing that moves you toward who you're meant to be. One thing. That's not overwhelming. That's not impossible. One thing. Make the call. Write the page. Have the conversation. Take the first step. Do one thing that your future self will thank you for. And then tomorrow, do it again. And again. And again. Until those one things compound into a life that actually means something. A life that reflects your values. A life that embodies your purpose. A life that, when you look back on it from your deathbed, you can say, I didn't waste it. I used it. I lived it fully. Marcus Aurelius, in his final years, battling illness and watching the empire struggle, wrote, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." What powerful advice. consider yourself already dead. Consider that your old self, the one who wasted time, the one who was disconnected from purpose, the one who was controlled by comfort and fear, that version of you is dead. And now, with whatever time you have left, you get to live properly. You get to live with intention, with purpose, with presence, with courage. You get to be who you truly are instead of who you've been pretending to be. The time for preparation is over. The time for waiting is over. The time for someday is over. This is the day. This is the moment. This is your life happening right now, not in the past, not in the future, now. And you get to choose what you do with it. You get to choose whether you continue sleepwalking through your existence, or whether you wake up and live like someone who knows their time is limited. Because it is. Your time is running out. Not to scare you, but to inspire you, to mobilize you, to shake you out of the comfortable numbness you've been living in. Write this down. Make it your reminder, your urgent call to action. My time is finite. Every moment counts. I will not waste another day disconnected from my purpose. And then look at your schedule. Look at how you spend your time. Be brutally honest. How much of it is aligned with your purpose? How much of it is wasted? And then change it. Eliminate the time wasters. Cut out the noise. Say no to the things that don't serve you. Create space for what matters. Make time for your purpose. Because if you don't make time for it, if you don't prioritize it, it will never happen. And you'll reach the end of your life with regret instead of fulfillment. With a long list of "I wish I had" instead of "I'm glad I did." You were given this life to do something meaningful with it. Not to waste it scrolling. Not to spend it comfortable and numb. You were given this life to grow, to struggle, to overcome, to build something, to love deeply, to face your fears, to discover your purpose and live it fully. And you're running out of time to do that. So stop preparing, stop waiting, stop talking about it. Start living it. Today, now. Because this moment right here, this is all you have. And it's enough. If you use it wisely, if you use it purposefully, if you honor the gift of time by not wasting it. So here we are, warrior, 7 Stoic principles that can reconnect you to your purpose. 7 truths that have the power to transform your life if you apply them. Not if you just understand them intellectually, not if you just agree with them, but if you take these ideas and turn them into actions, if you take these principles and build them into your daily life, if you take this wisdom and forge yourself into someone who embodies it. Let me tie this all together for you, because these principles are not separate. They're all connected. They're all part of the same transformation. When you master your attention, you create space for what matters. When you embrace discipline, you build the capacity to do hard things. When you separate from your emotions, you gain the power to choose your response. When you become comfortable with discomfort, you expand your capacity for life. When you align your actions with your intentions, you build unshakable integrity. When you reject victimhood, you reclaim your power. And when you honor the finite nature of time, you live with urgency and purpose. All of these work together. All of these compound. All of these transform you from someone who is disconnected, distracted, and lost into someone who is present, purposeful, and powerful. But you need to understand something crucial. This transformation doesn't happen because you watched this video. It doesn't happen because you understood the concepts. It doesn't happen because you felt inspired for 20 minutes. Inspiration is cheap. Inspiration fades. transformation happens through consistent action over time, through showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. Transformation happens when you take these principles and build them into your habits, your routines, your identity. When you become someone who lives this way, not because you're trying to, but because this is who you are. The Stoics knew this. They didn't just philosophize about virtue, they practiced it daily. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write about discipline in his journal. He woke up every day and ruled an empire with discipline. Seneca didn't just write about voluntary discomfort. He practiced poverty regularly to prove he could handle it. Epictetus didn't just teach about mental freedom. He embodied it so completely that even slavery couldn't touch his inner peace. These men lived their philosophy. They didn't separate knowing from doing. And that's why their wisdom has survived 2,000 years. Not because it was clever, but because it was true, because it worked, because they proved it worked through their own lives. And now it's your turn. You've been given the same principles, the same truths, the same opportunity. The only question is, what will you do with it? Will you watch this video, feel inspired for a few hours, and then return to exactly who you were before? Will you let this message become just another piece of content you consumed and forgot? Or will you take this moment seriously? Will you let this be the turning point? Will you decide right now that you're done being disconnected from your purpose? That you're done wasting your life? That you're done being controlled by comfort, by fear, by distraction, by excuses? Because you have a choice right now. You always have a choice. That's the foundation of Stoicism. That's the foundation of freedom. You cannot control what happened to you. You cannot control what will happen to you. But you can always control your response. You can always choose your next action. And the action you take right now, the choice you make in this moment, that's what determines everything. Not your past, not your circumstances, not your feelings, your choice, your action, right now. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to comment your truth below. You're going to write one of the affirmations from this video. Not because I told you to, but because declaring your intention publicly is the first step toward making it real. It's a commitment. It's a line in the sand. It's you saying, "This is who I'm choosing to be." And then tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up and you're going to prove it. You're going to take one action aligned with your purpose, one uncomfortable thing, one disciplined choice, one moment of attention control, one step toward the person you're meant to be. And you're going to do it again the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Not perfectly. You'll stumble. You'll fall. You'll have days where you fail to live up to these principles. That's fine. That's human. The Stoics didn't expect perfection. They expected consistent effort. They expected you to keep showing up, to keep choosing, to keep acting, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's where transformation happens, in the hard moments, in the choice to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. Marcus Aurelius faced this constantly. He was tired. He was sick. He was dealing with endless problems. And every morning, he had to convince himself to get up and do his duty. He wrote in his journal, talking to himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? He didn't always feel like it, but he always did it, because he understood that who you are is determined by what you do, not by how you feel. And he chose, every single day, to be someone worthy of respect, someone connected to purpose, someone who used his time wisely. You have the same opportunity, you have the same choice, and you're running out of time to make it. Not in some distant future. Right now. Your life is happening right now. While you're watching this, while you're sitting there, while you're thinking about whether you're going to change or not. Your life is passing, and you can either spend it disconnected, distracted, and filled with regret, or you can spend it purposeful, present, and proud of who you're becoming. That's the choice. That's always been the choice, and it's yours to make. So make it. Decide right now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances are perfect. Now, decide that you're done being disconnected. Decide that you're going to honor your time, your attention, your life by living with purpose. Decide that you're going to embody these Stoic principles not because they're easy, but because they're true. Decide that you're going to become someone you respect, someone who keeps their word, someone who faces difficulty with courage, someone who transforms suffering into strength, someone who lives fully even knowing that time is finite, especially knowing that time is finite. This is your moment. This is your wake-up call. This is your opportunity to choose a different path, the path that leads to purpose, the path that leads to meaning, the path that leads to becoming who you were always meant to be. But you have to choose it. No one can choose it for you. No one can walk it for you. This is your life, your responsibility, your purpose, your time. And it's running out. So comment below. Tell me which principle hit you hardest. Tell me what action you're going to take tomorrow. Tell me who you're choosing to become. Make that declaration. Make that commitment. And then honor it with your actions. Show yourself that your word means something. Show yourself that you're capable of transformation. Show yourself that you're not just someone who consumes content and forgets it. You're someone who takes wisdom and turns it into action. Who takes inspiration and turns it into transformation. Who takes this one precious life and makes it count. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to this channel and keep walking the Stoic path. Because this is a journey, not a destination. This is a daily practice, not a one-time event. This is a lifelong commitment to becoming better, stronger, wiser, more purposeful. And warrior, remember this. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're not depressed beyond healing. You're just disconnected from your purpose. And connection, reconnection, that's always possible. It's always available. It's always just one choice away, one action away, one moment of courage away. The ancient Stoics are reaching across 2,000 years to remind you of something you already know deep down, that you are capable, that you are strong, that you have everything you need within you already, that your purpose is waiting for you, that your time is now, that your life, this one beautiful, finite, precious life, is yours to live fully. So live it. Stop waiting. Stop preparing. Stop making excuses. Live it. With purpose, with presence, with courage, with discipline, with all the fire and intensity and commitment you can summon. Because this is it. This is your life. This is your time. This is your moment. Don't waste it. Wake up. Stand up. Show up. And become who you were always meant to be. The Stoic path awaits. Will you walk it?